From Abuja, Nigeria's capital, I am Moreno Haniel. The All Progressive Congress has rejected the result of Osun State governorship election, insisting that Governor Ademola Adeleke did not secure the highest number of valid votes cast in the election. The party's position comes days after the Independent National Electoral Commission declared Adeleke the winner of the poll, setting the stage for further political and possibly legal battles over the outcome. Oiza Deniaka has the details.
APC says it is examining the results from the August 15th election and has raised questions about collation and declaration process. Governor Ademola Adeleke, who contested under the Accord Party, was declared winner after securing victory across 19 local government areas. The result handed him another term in office and immediately generated reactions from political parties and stakeholders. The APC rejection of the result has now added a new dimension to the post-election environment in Osun, with the party expected to intensify its review of the poll. The development is also being closely watched nationally because of the possible implication for the 2027 general elections. Both the ruling party and opposition groups are already drawing lessons from the Osun contest as political realignment gathered momentum. Dan Eka Oiza reporting for Skyline TV News.
Former President Olusegun Obasanjo has visited Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke following the governor's re-election. During the visit, Obasanjo urged Adeleke to sustain good governance and remain focused on delivering the dividend of democracy to the people of the state. Mohammed Musa has more on the report.
The former president's visit comes shortly after Adeleke was declared winner of the Osun governorship election, defeating his closest rival, the APC candidate Bola Oyebamiji. Obasanjo's message is coming as a significant political moment for the governor, who now faces the task of consolidating his administration after a closely watched election. The former president's intervention also places emphasis on governance beyond electoral victories, with Adeleke expected to focus on development and the welfare of residents. The visit has further added to the political attention surrounding Osun following the election, with stakeholders already examining the result and its implication for the state's future political direction. I am Mohammed Musa, reporting for Skyline News.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has congratulated Governor Ademola Adeleke on his re-election in Osun State, describing the outcome as an assurance that democracy will continue to flourish in Nigeria. The president also commended voters in the state for participating in the electoral process and urged political actors to continue supporting democratic institutions. Skyline Oiza Deneka has more on the report.
Adeleke's re-election has attracted reactions from across Nigeria's political landscape, with the president's statement offering a message of acceptance of the democratic outcome. The Osun election has been closely watched because of its potential significance of the political calculations ahead of the 2027 general elections. While the APC has rejected the result, the president's reaction emphasizes the importance of allowing democratic institutions to operate and respecting the choices made by voters. Political parties are now expected to begin reviewing their performances, strategies, and structures as attention gradually shifts from the Osun election towards the larger political contest ahead. Dan Eka Oiza for Skyline TV News.
An aide to the Oni of Ife has called on President Bola Tinubu to ensure that the 2027 general elections are free, fair, and credible. The appeal follows the recently concluded Osun governorship election and political reaction that have followed the poll. Mohammed Musa again has more on the report.
The aide stressed the importance of protecting the integrity
Please,
of
the TV here has gone off
and ensuring that voters are allowed to freely exercise their constitutional right. The call comes as political parties begin early preparations for the 2027 general elections, with issues surrounding electoral credibility expected to become increasingly prominent. The Ocean election has provided another opportunity for political stakeholders to examine the performance of electoral institutions, political parties, and security agencies. As political activities increase ahead of 2027, stakeholders are expected to continue demanding transparency and accountability throughout the electoral process. I am Muhammad Musa, reporting for Skyline News.
31 Nigerian states spent about 252 billion naira on security during the first 6 months of 2026, according to a report on the state security expenditure. The spending comes despite continuing incidents of the kidnapping, banditry, and other violent crimes across the parts of the country, raising fresh questions about the effectiveness of security spending. Oiza Denika again joins us now with more on the report.
The figures show the enormous financial burden insecurity continues to place on state governments, many of which are deploying significant resources to protect residents and critical infrastructure. The report indicates that states including Kogi, Plateau, and Bauchi were among those with significant security expenditures during the period. However, the continued occurrence of attacks and kidnappings has intensified calls for security agencies to move beyond reactive operations and strengthen intelligence-led policing. Security experts have also stressed the need for better coordination between federal and state authorities, community intelligence, and improved technology to ensure that increased expenditure translates into improved safety for citizens. Dan Ika Oiza for Skyline TV News.
Recently been killed in violent clashes between local groups in Niger State. The incident has raised fresh concerns over community security and the ability of local authorities to prevent local disputes from escalating into deadly violence. Mohammed Musa again has more on the report.
The violence has left communities dealing with loss of lives and heightened fear, while details surrounding the circumstances of the clashes continue to emerge. Security authorities are expected to investigate the incident and determine what triggered the confrontation and whether criminal elements were involved. The development comes against the background of wider security concerns in Nigeria, where communal violence, banditry, and other forms of insecurity continue to affect several communities. Residents and stakeholders are again calling for stronger early warning mechanisms and quicker intervention whenever tension begins to rise in vulnerable communities. I am Muhammad Musa, reporting for Skyline News.
The Lagos State government says work on the Ojaiba Specialist Hospital has reached about 90% completion. The project is expected to strengthen healthcare delivery and expand access to specialist medical services for residents when completed. The development is part of ongoing investment in the state health infrastructure as authorities seek to improve facilities and reduce pressure on existing hospitals. The project is expected to improve access to specialized treatment and potentially reduce the need for patients to travel outside Lagos for certain medical services. The federal government says another batch of 83 Nigerians is expected to arrive in Lagos from South Africa on Wednesday, August 19th. The evacuation is part of ongoing efforts to bring Nigerians back home amid renewed concerns affecting citizens in South Africa. Government authorities says the process is being coordinated to ensure the safe return of affected Nigerians. The latest batch follows earlier efforts to assist Nigerians seeking to return home, with officials expected to continue monitoring the situation. More stories for you after the break. Please do stay with us. you for staying with us on the news. Now we move to the security in the country. Security operatives in Kwara State have intensified operations against criminal networks involved in kidnapping, cultism, and murder. The development comes as authorities step up efforts to disrupt organized criminal activities and prevent further attacks on the residents. Police and other security agencies are also working to gather intelligence that could lead to the arrest of other members of criminal networks operating in the state. Still in security matters in the country, the United Nations and the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps are working together to tackle illegal mining and related activities believed to contribute to insecurity. The partnership is also focused on addressing possible links between illegal mining and financing of terrorism. Authorities say disrupting illegal economic activities is important to protecting communities and strengthen national security. Security agencies have arrested 3 suspects allegedly linked to the attack on St. Joseph Catholic Church in Inoyi, Afar, Enugu State, where 4 AK-47 rifles were discovered during the operation, while 2 victims were freed, according to the security agencies. The suspects are being investigated over their alleged links to the kidnapping gang responsible for the attack. The continued spending by Nigerian states on security is highlighting the scale of the country's ongoing security challenge. Recent figures show 31 states spent about $252 billion on security in the first half of 2026, even as kidnapping and other violent crimes continue to be reported. The figures have prompted renewed calls for security expenditure to be accompanied by measurable improvement in intelligence response capacity and protection of vulnerable communities. We move to business now. Nigeria's headline inflation rate has declined to 15.43% in July from 15.91% recorded in June, and the 0.48 percentage point decline represent another sign of easing price pressures in Nigerian economy. However, analysts warn that the moderation in headline inflation does not mean that households are immediately experiencing cheaper goods, with food prices remaining a major concern. We move to the Naira, where the Naira has continued to trade relatively firmly against the dollar, with the latest official data putting the currency about 1,350 Naira to the dollar. The relative stability comes as the central bank and other authorities continue efforts to improve liquidity and reduce volatility in foreign exchange market. Businesses continue to watch the exchange rate closely because fluctuations affect imports, production costs, and prices of goods and services. Still on business, Nigeria's declining inflation rate is increasing investor interest in money market instruments. Analysts say some fixed income assets are becoming more attractive because their returns can now exceed the latest inflation rate. The trend could encourage investors to consider treasury bills and other instruments as they seek to preserve the value of the funds. HBM Nigeria PLC, formerly Lafarge Africa PLC, has reported a profit after tax of 208 billion naira for the period under review. The figure represents a 57% increase and highlights stronger financial performance by building materials company. The result comes amid continuing activity in Nigeria's construction and infrastructure sectors. More stories after the break. Please do stay with us.
Watch Skyline News on MyComSat and Free TV. Stay connected wherever you are.
Thank you for staying with us on the news. Now we move to foreign stories. Zambia's Electoral Commission says President Hakainde Hichilema has won re-election with around 60% of votes cast last week following a race critics said was tightly managed by his government. The result was widely expected, with Hichilema in power since 2021. Facing a crowded field of 13 challengers led by former provincial minister Brian Mundubile making his first bid for the presidency. Uyi Ogbomofogbe reports that supporters of the president took to the street in Lusaka to celebrate his re-election victory following the Electoral Commission announcement of the results.
Electoral Commission of Zambia chairperson Wangala Zalomus noted that opposition leader Brian Mundubile, 55, who entered the race in May, secured nearly 38% of the vote. The August 13 election in the copper-rich Southern African nation was overshadowed by opposition's allegations of fraud and an unprecedented nationwide suspension of vote tallying after attacks on election staff and the theft of marked ballot papers. Ahead of the vote, opposition parties and civil society groups had warned of a shrinking political space, citing restrictions on campaigning. International and domestic observer missions said at the weekend that the conditions had contributed to an uneven playing field.
I therefore declare Hichilema Hakainde S. to be President-elect of the Republic of Zambia this 18th day of August 2026.
Tensions escalated after the vote when authorities arrested nearly a dozen people, including senior opposition figures, during a raid that involved an exchange of gunfire. The government said those arrested were linked to militia or insurgent activity around the election, allegations denied by Mundubile's NRPUP party. Meanwhile, supporters of President Hichilema took to the streets in Lusaka, the country's capital, to celebrate his re-election victory, with police monitoring the situation. The election was widely seen as a referendum on Hichilema's first term, during which Zambia's economy returns to growth after years of fiscal distress. Uyi Agumofwebe for Skyline News.
A vessel traveling through the Strait of Hormuz has been struck by an unknown projectile, causing damage to its engine room and leaving a crew member affected. The United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations said the remaining crew were assisted by the Omani Coast Guard. The incident comes amid heightened tensions involving Iran, the United States, and other countries in the region. Still on foreign news, the ceasefire between the United States and Iran has expired without a new arrangement, raising fears of renewed hostilities and further instability across the Middle East. The development comes amid growing tensions between Washington and Tehran, with diplomatic efforts yet to produce a lasting arrangement. Both sides remain divided over key issues including sanctions, security guarantees, and Iran's nuclear program. The expiration of the ceasefire has also increased concerns over the security of vital shipping routes in the region, particularly the Strait of Hormuz, a major passage for global oil supplies. In Russia now, at least 10 people have reportedly been killed following a fresh Russian missile strike on Ukraine's Kharkiv region. Several others injured in the attack. The strike adds to the continuing violence in the Russia-Ukraine war. The Russian forces maintain attacks on Ukrainian territory despite ongoing diplomatic efforts to find a negotiated settlement. Ukrainian authorities say the latest attacks have again placed civilians at risk and caused damage in affected areas. Rescue workers and emergency teams have been deployed as authorities access the full extent of the destruction. To Gaza now, diplomatic efforts to advance a Gaza peace plan are continuing, with U.S. envoys meeting Egyptian, Qatari, and Turkish mediators. The talks are focused on creating a framework for ending the fighting and addressing the major disputes between Israel and Hamas. A major sticking point remains Hamas disarmament and conditions for an Israeli military withdrawal from Gaza. The latest negotiation comes as Israeli strikes continue increasing pressure on mediators to secure an agreement. We move to entertainment now, where African Fashion Week London has begun its 16th edition, running from August 17 to 23, 2026, under the theme Design Beyond Borders. The event is bringing together African and African heritage designers, models, and creative entrepreneurs, with main fashion showcase scheduled for August 22nd and 23rd at 8 Northumberland Avenue, London. Today, August 18th, the program includes creative panel discussions at British Council, focusing on African fashion, textile, education, heritage, and the future of the continent's creative industry. We move to Nigeria. Burna Boy and Shakira's collaboration, Die Die, continues to dominate the Billboard Global 200. The song has now spent a 5th week at #1 on the global chart and an 8th week on the Billboard Global exclusive US chart. The performance further highlights the international reach of Nigerian Afrobeats, its growing influence on global pop music. The achievement also adds another major international milestone to Burna Boy's growing list of charts successes. To the sad news now, where the family of veteran Yoruba actor Taiwo Hassan, popularly known as Ogogo, has appealed for urgent medical assistance for the actor. The family says it's seeking medical expertise and direction as the actor reportedly battles stage 4 cancer. The appeal has triggered an outpouring of concern from colleagues and fans across Nigerian entertainment industry. More stories after this entertainment break. Please do stay with us.
Or by streaming us live on the Free TV app available for both iOS and Android devices via the App Store and Google Play. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Skyline TV News for breaking news, updates, and exclusive content. For more information, visit www.skylinetv.ng. Skyline News, beyond the headlines.
Thank you for staying with us. Now we move to sports. The Nigerian Football Federation has sacked the Super Falcons technical crew following the team's failure to qualify for the 2027 FIFA Women's World Cup. The decision comes after a disappointing WAFCON campaign that has generated widespread criticism among fans and football stakeholders. The NFF is now expected to review the technical structure of the team and consider options for rebuilding the women's national side. Still on sports, Super Eagles striker Taiwo Awoniyi has completed his move to newly promoted Premier League side Coventry City from Nottingham Forest. The transfer is reportedly worth about £9 million and gives the Nigerian forward a fresh opportunity to establish himself at another Premier League club. Awoniyi will now be hoping for regular playing time and an injury-free campaign as Coventry prepare for life in the top flight. The National Sports Commission has pledged increased support for fencing following Nigeria's impressive performance at the 2026 Commonwealth Fencing Championship. The achievement has renewed attention on the sport in Nigeria, with officials recognizing the potential of Nigerian fencers to compete successfully on the international stage. The NSC says the performance demonstrates the importance of investing in less prominent sporting disciplines while providing athletes with better training facilities, equipment, and opportunities to compete internationally. The Commission is expected to work with relevant stakeholders to strengthen fencing development and help Nigerian athletes prepare for upcoming international competitions. And that is all we have on Skyline Recap this morning. I'm your anchor, Moreno Haniel. Do have a very beautiful day.